Oh my God, you've made my floor all dirty.
Garrett Holloway's face contorted with disgust.
Your hair is like a wet rag, mud everywhere. Are you homeless?
I just...
Don't say another word! You look like a sewer.
I want to buy it.
You? Buying this?
He pointed at the phantom and snorted.
A sewer trying to flow into the ocean.
I have money.
Oh, money! You're a robber. Couldn't earn this in a lifetime of stealing.
Everyone burst out laughing.
We don't serve filthy people here. Get out before I throw sewage in your face.
Audrey Bennett looked at her muddy boots. She slid her fingers into her coat pocket, felt the cool leather of a checkbook no one here could touch. In 20 minutes, the man laughing loudest would be on his knees. To understand how Garrett Holloway ended up on his knees, we have to go back 6 hours. 6:14 in the morning, Bel Air, California. Audrey Bennett knelt in her garden behind the main house, in an old gray sweater stained with potting soil and last week's coffee. Her hair was pulled into a knot held by a pencil. Mud streaked one cheek. A small radio sat on the gravel beside her, tuned to the early news. The storm had hit Los Angeles hard overnight. 2 inches of rain in 3 hours. Mulholland Drive was half flooded. 2 animal shelters in the valley had lost power. The reporter listed the closures. Audrey listened the way she always did, half attention, half thinking about the bougainvillea she was trying to save. Then she heard it. A small sound. High. Strained. The kind of cry that doesn't belong in any garden. She stood up. Listened. It came again, from beyond the back gate, somewhere down the embankment that dropped toward the canyon. A storm drain ran along that ridge. Audrey unlatched the gate and walked. The mud was worse than she expected. By the time she reached the drain, her boots were soaked through, jeans heavy past the knee. She lowered herself onto her stomach in the slope and reached down. A small beagle, maybe 4 months old, was wedged sideways against the grate, half submerged, eyes huge, shivering. "Hey, baby, hey, I got you." Audrey worked her hand under the pup's belly, pulled gently. The little body came free with a wet pop and a yelp. She held him against her chest and climbed back up. He smelled like wet earth and fear. "You're gonna live, sweetheart. You're gonna live." She'd name him Mud later. For now, she wrapped him in her sweater and drove. The 24-hour clinic on Sunset took him without questions. The vet tech, a kid in scrubs no older than 20, barely looked at Audrey while filling out the intake form. She typed, "Unknown female, walk in." She asked for cash up front. Audrey paid $800 and signed A. Bennett with a borrowed pen. The tech glanced at the signature, glanced back at the mud on Audrey's coat, and asked, "Do you want us to call the shelter when he stabilizes? Some folks just drop these guys." "I'll come back at noon." "Suit yourself." Audrey walked back to the Land Rover. A 2014 black, dented on the rear quarter panel from a parking lot incident 2 winters ago. She'd never had it fixed. She liked it. She pulled onto Sunset heading east, past the Beverly Hills Hotel, past the pink stucco walls and the valet stands waking up for Saturday brunch. That's when she saw it. Rolls-Royce, Beverly Hills. Glass facade. Phantom Series 2 on the showroom plinth, lit from below in white. The new model. The one she had personally approved the interior on. A hand-stitched leather pattern in saddle brown. Thursday afternoon. The board memo went out at 4:15. She'd never actually sat in one. The clock on the dash read 7:50. London call wasn't until 9. She had time. Audrey pulled into the customer lot and parked between a silver Bentley Continental and a matte black Aston Martin DB12. Her Land Rover left a small trail of dried mud on the pavement. She didn't change. Didn't even check her face in the mirror. She walked toward the glass doors, in the same sweater, the same boots, the same streak of mud on her cheek. The doors slid open with a soft, pneumatic hiss. Inside, the showroom hummed. Marble floors so polished they doubled the chandelier above. Ambient Debussy from hidden speakers. The thick, expensive smell of Dutch Napa leather and orchid. 2 customers, a tall man in a Loro Piana polo, a woman in cream Chanel, stood near a black Cullinan, talking with a young blonde sales associate whose name tag read Emma. Audrey moved past them, drawn straight to the phantom on the plinth. She touched the windshield with 2 fingers. Cool glass. Perfect seam. The leather grain of the dash, even through the window, was exactly the shade of brown she'd signed off on. She smiled. A door opened at the back of the showroom. A man stepped out. Late 30s, charcoal Tom Ford suit, Patek on the wrist. His eyes found Audrey at the phantom, found the mud, the sweater, the boots, and something behind his face moved. Garrett Holloway's good morning ended right there. Garrett crossed the showroom in long, controlled strides. He stopped 6 feet from her, hands clasped behind his back. The smile he wore was the kind salesmen practice in mirrors before a long shift. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step away from the vehicle." Audrey turned to face him. She didn't move from the phantom. "Good morning. I'd like to see this one. May I sit inside?" Garrett's smile widened by a millimeter. He glanced past her, made sure the Hartleys at the Cullinan could hear him, and then raised his voice the smallest amount. "Sit inside? I'm afraid that's not how this works. This vehicle is configured for delivery. $234,000. We don't open doors for window shopping." "I'm not window shopping." "Of course you're not." The Hartleys had stopped talking. The blonde sales associate beside them, Emma, froze mid-sentence. 3 heads turned toward the phantom, like the room had just remembered there was weather outside. Garrett let the silence stretch the way a man does when he's enjoying himself. "Listen, I'm going to be straightforward with you. Folks come in here on Saturday sometimes. They take photos, they touch things, they don't buy. And that's fine, mostly. But you're tracking actual mud across a floor that costs $400 a square foot to maintain. So," he gestured at the door with 2 fingers, the way a maitre d' dismisses a tourist, "why don't we step outside? I'll have someone get you a bottle of water. There's a lovely little cafe 2 blocks down. Probably more your speed." Audrey looked at the door, then back at the phantom, then at Garrett. "I'd really just like to see the interior." "Ma'am?" "It's the saddle brown stitching, isn't it? I want to see how it sits with the natural light from the east window." Garrett's smile cracked a fraction. He had no idea what saddle brown stitching meant in the context of a Saturday morning intruder in a muddy sweater. But something in her tone, the calm, the specificity, the way she pronounced east window like she'd designed it, pricked at him in a place he couldn't quite locate. He covered it with a louder voice. Folks, my apologies for the interruption. Sometimes we get enthusiasts who wander in from the boulevard. We do our best to redirect them. Please, continue." He turned to Spencer Hartley and winked. Spencer's mouth twitched into a half-smile. His wife, Charlotte, did not smile. She turned her face toward the Cullinan and stared at the side mirror like it held a personal message just for her. Emma took a step forward. Her hands were trembling at her sides, fingers curled and uncurled, curled and uncurled. "Mr. Holloway, I can help her. I was just..." "Emma, about to show her the configuration menu. She was asking about..." "Emma, get back to reception, now." Emma stopped. Her face went hot pink. She turned and walked fast toward the front desk. The whole showroom watched her go. Brent Carlyle, the other sales associate, watched her too, and quietly slipped his phone out of his blazer pocket. He held it loose against his hip. The lens was pointed at the phantom. Garrett pulled his own phone from an inside pocket, tapped a single contact, tapped again. 3 short bursts. "Security to the showroom floor, now, please." He slid the phone back into his suit, adjusted the cuff, turned back to Audrey with the patience of a man explaining things to a slow child. "Ma'am, I'm asking nicely. One more time." He gave her a long look. "I really am being patient. Most people in my position would have called security 10 minutes ago. Some of us still have manners." "I haven't done anything." "You're disturbing my clients." Audrey glanced at the Hartleys. Spencer was looking at the floor. Charlotte was looking at Garrett the way a person looks at a stain that's getting bigger. "I don't think I'm disturbing them," Audrey said. "I think you are." There was a small, hard silence. The Debussy from the speakers moved into a quieter passage. Then the side door opened, and a young man in a black uniform walked in. 22, maybe 23, crew cut, boots polished. His name tag read, Tyler Reeves. He stopped halfway to the Phantom and read the scene. A woman in a sweater, hands at her sides, standing next to a car worth $250,000. A manager he didn't like, 6 feet away, eyes hot. 2 customers easing back. A third customer who'd just walked in, an older woman in a beige trench coat, already lifting her phone. Tyler's jaw moved. "Tyler," Garrett said, "please escort this woman off the property. She's disturbing our clients." Tyler looked at Audrey. Audrey looked back at him. Not defiant, not afraid, just looking, the way a teacher looks at a student about to make a hard choice. "Sir," Tyler said to Garrett, "has she been asked to leave?" "What do you think I've been doing for the last 5 minutes?" "Has she refused?" "She is refusing right now." Tyler hesitated. He'd been hired 10 weeks ago. The protocol binder on his desk was bookmarked at the page on customer escalation. He could see the line in his head, the one printed in bold near the bottom. Physical removal of non-threatening guests is prohibited without verbal escalation documented through manager and district approval. The training video had even shown a reenactment. "Ma'am," Tyler said. He swallowed. "Mr. Holloway has asked you to leave. Would you mind stepping toward the door with me?" "I would, actually. I understand. But what's your last name, Tyler?" He blinked. "Reeves. Reeves, ma'am." "Tyler Reeves. Don't put your hands on me. He's not worth your career." Tyler froze. So did Garrett. The way she'd said it, quiet, factual, almost gentle. The way she knew the policy without being told. The way she'd read Tyler's name and used it like she'd known him for years. A small alarm went off somewhere in Garrett's chest. He ignored it. Across the showroom, Brent's phone was still rolling. The older woman in the beige trench was filming openly now, two-handed, her chin tucked the way amateur reporters tuck their chins. A fourth person had walked in, a delivery courier with a clipboard, and stopped at the door, sensing the room, lifting his own phone halfway. Garrett saw the phones. Something in his face shifted from contempt into something uglier. The realization that he had an audience. That every word he said now would be a record. He stepped closer to Audrey. "Ma'am, this is a private business. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Now I'm going to ask you to leave one final time before I call the Beverly Hills Police and have you removed for trespass." Audrey looked down. The mud on her boot had dried into a small map of brown ridges. She remembered the puppy's chest against her sweater, the wet pop of his little body coming free. She remembered the cold water bleeding through her boot leather as she climbed back up the ridge. She remembered the vet tech typing "unknown female" on the intake form like she was filing a missing item. A small smile crossed her face. So small, Garrett didn't see it. "Call them," she said. "Excuse me?" "Call the Beverly Hills Police. I'll wait." She turned, walked 4 steps to the cream Italian leather chair next to the phantom display, and sat down, crossed her legs at the ankle, folded her hands in her lap. The mud on her sweater left a faint smudge on the armrest. The room went quiet enough that you could hear the Debussy. A second movement, pianissimo. Near the front doors, Charlotte Hartley's hand had moved to Spencer's elbow. They were no longer pretending to look at the Cullinan. Garrett's face went red, then white, then red again. "Get up! Get up!" She did not get up. He turned to Tyler. "Get her up!" Tyler did not move. His hands stayed at his sides. Spencer Hartley, who had been silent for 2 minutes, said something to his wife that no one else could hear. Charlotte answered quickly. They began walking toward the front doors. Spencer paused at the threshold, looked back at Garrett. "Holloway, this is bad form, truly." Garrett didn't answer. He couldn't take his eyes off the woman in his Italian leather chair. Spencer and Charlotte walked out into the morning sun. The doors hissed shut behind them. 3 customers gone in 5 minutes. 4 phones filming. Emma at the reception desk with her hand over her mouth. Tyler standing useless in the middle of the floor. And Audrey Bennett sitting calmly, hands in her lap, watching Garrett Holloway like she was watching a man dig a very deep hole with his own bare hands. Outside, on the boulevard, Saturday traffic crawled past in the sun. Inside, the temperature kept climbing. For a long moment, no one spoke. Garrett breathed through his nose. His jaw worked. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "You know what? Folks who can't see this, let me show you what we're dealing with on a Saturday morning." He tapped the camera icon, held the phone vertical, tapped live. The Rolls-Royce Beverly Hills official Instagram opened. 46 followers tuned in immediately. Then 100. Then more. "Hi everyone, Garrett here from the showroom. Sorry, real quick, I want to show you something. This is what we deal with sometimes. A woman, in a sweater that smells like a wet basement, sitting in one of our display chairs, refusing to leave. We've asked her politely 4, 5 times. Security is here. Police are on the way. I wanted you all to see this for yourselves." He walked a slow half circle around the Italian leather chair, phone held out, narrating like a nature documentarian. "Look at her, hands folded like she's in church, as if this is normal, as if the floor she just tracked mud across doesn't cost more than her rent." Audrey didn't look at the phone. She looked at the Phantom. The leather panel that ran along the dashboard caught the morning light from the east window, exactly the way she had imagined when she signed the configuration sheet on Thursday. "And let me tell you what makes this beautiful," Garrett continued, voice rising, performing now. "She says she has money. She says she wants to buy the Phantom. The Phantom, a $234,000 car, bought by, what, did the food stamps come in early this month?" The phone count climbed. 600 viewers. 800. 1,000. Tyler stood 10 feet away with his hands behind his back. He was not smiling. His eyes flicked between Audrey and the door. Garrett turned to him. "Tyler, grab her arm. Walk her out the front door. We'll wait for the cops outside." Tyler did not move. "Tyler." "Sir, I already explained. You want to keep your job, son? Grab her." The phone count was at 1,400. Comments began scrolling. Tyler took 1 half step forward. His hand began to lift. Then he saw Audrey's face, calm, patient. The eyes of someone who had spent her whole life being looked at the wrong way. And his hand stopped, mid-air, like it had hit glass. "Mr. Holloway, I'm not going to put my hands on this customer. She has not threatened anyone. I will stand by the door. I will wait for BHPD. That is what I'm trained to do." Garrett laughed. It was a sharp, ugly little sound. Oh, you've got the magic touch with this one, huh? You two know each other now? Cute. You people always have a story. He said "you people" the way some men say slurs, slow and deliberate. The phone caught it. 6,000 viewers were watching live. The comments began to move faster than Garrett could see. Across the showroom, at the reception desk, Emma Coleman had her own phone in her lap, hidden behind the counter. Her thumb tapped a contact in her favorites. The line rang twice. A voice answered, calm, older, East Coast accent. "Edward Lawson?" "Mr. Lawson, this is Emma at Beverly Hills. Something's happening on the floor. You need to see it. The official IG is live. Please." She hung up before he could ask. 3 seconds later, her phone buzzed. He was watching. Outside, a black and white Beverly Hills police cruiser pulled into the customer lot. 2 doors opened. One officer stayed near the cruiser, hand on his radio. The other walked toward the showroom. The doors hissed open. He stepped inside. He was maybe 35, tall. His badge said Donovan. He took in the scene. The manager with his phone out, the woman in the leather chair, the security guard frozen, the silent staff. And his face did exactly nothing. "Good morning," he said, even and quiet. "I got a call about a trespass." Garrett spun around, all teeth, almost grateful. "Officer, thank God. This woman refuses to leave. We've asked her 4 times. She's disturbing my customers. The Hartleys just walked out. Look, I have it all on video." "I see that, sir." Officer Donovan glanced at the phone. "You may want to turn that off." "It's the official store account. It's documentation." "All the same." Garrett tapped end. The live stream cut at 9,400 viewers. Donovan walked over to Audrey, stopped a respectful 3 feet from the chair, took off his hat. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm Officer Donovan, BHPD. Mind if I see some ID?" "Of course." She reached into the inside pocket of her sweater and pulled out a slim black billfold, opened it, handed him a driver's license. Officer Donovan took it, looked, held it up to the light, the way officers do. He stopped breathing for a beat, maybe 2. His thumb moved very slightly. He flipped the license, looked at the back, looked at the front again. He looked at Audrey. Then he looked at the phantom on the plinth. Then back at Audrey. Then at Garrett. Something in his face had changed. Not dramatically, just softer, more careful. The way a professional handles something he was not expecting to handle today. He handed the license back to Audrey, gently, with 2 fingers, like a man returning a passport. "Thank you, ma'am." Then he turned to Garrett. "Mr. Holloway." "What?" "Could I speak with you outside for a moment, please?" Garrett's smile snapped back on. "Sure. Yeah. After you cite her for trespass, we can..." "Sir, outside. Now." The way he said it. Officer Donovan had not raised his voice a single decibel, but the 3 words landed differently than the 700 Garrett had thrown at Audrey in the last 10 minutes. Garrett went out through the glass doors with Donovan behind him. The showroom held its breath. Through the windows, the rest of the staff and the older woman in the trench coat, who had quietly drifted closer with her phone, watched the 2 figures on the sidewalk. Officer Donovan spoke. Garrett's hands began to rise, then dropped. Donovan spoke again. Garrett's mouth opened, closed, opened again. He glanced through the glass at Audrey in the chair. He looked back at Donovan. 90 seconds, maybe 100. Then Garrett pushed back through the doors. His face had gone the color of old paper. There was a small tremor along his jaw. He tried very hard not to let it show. "Fine," he said loudly, to no one in particular. "Fine. You can stay. But you're not buying anything. We don't sell to time wasters." Officer Donovan followed him in, stood quietly near the door. He did not look at Garrett. He looked at Audrey. Waited. Audrey stood up from the Italian chair. Slowly. The mud smudge on the armrest stayed behind. She walked across the marble toward the reception desk. Emma Coleman was already standing, hand pressed to her own collarbone, like she was trying to keep her heart in place. "Sweetheart," Audrey said, "may I borrow a pen?" Emma nodded, reached under the counter, produced a black Mont Blanc with shaking fingers, and held it out. "Thank you." Audrey reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the checkbook she'd been touching since the moment Garrett opened his mouth. It was a slim leather folder, deep midnight blue, almost black, hand-tooled along the spine. The gold lettering across the lower right was small, discreet. Coutts, Private Office, London. She placed it on the polished counter, opened it. The first check was already partially filled in pencil. She finished it in ink, slowly, in the way of a person who had signed a great many things over many years. Pay to Rolls-Royce Beverly Hills, $234,750.00. Garrett had drifted closer, despite himself. He let out a sharp little laugh that was already losing its conviction. Oh, great. The prop checkbook. This'll be fun. Audrey did not look up. She finished the signature. She tore the check along the perforation, placed it flat on the counter, slid it across the marble toward Emma. Emma picked it up with two hands. Her eyes ran across the numbers, ran across the routing, ran across the bank name. Then they landed on the signature line, stayed there. The pink left her face all at once. Oh my God. Garrett crossed the room in 3 long strides and snatched the check out of her hands. "Let me see that fake. Let me see." His eyes hit the signature. His mouth opened, closed. Below the signature, in small printed cursive, the bank had embossed, "Audrey M. Bennett, chairwoman of the board, Rolls-Royce Motor Cars, North America." The check began to shake in Garrett Holloway's hand. The showroom went completely silent. Garrett's mouth was still open. It's not a forgery." Audrey's voice, when she finally raised it, was the kind of voice a board member uses to end a meeting that has gone on too long. She reached into the breast pocket of her sweater and pulled out a second item. A black hard card with a silver hologram, magnetic stripe, embossed photo, a small Rolls-Royce double R in the lower corner. She set it on the counter beside the check. Rolls-Royce Motor Cars North America, Executive Board, Audrey M. Bennett, chairwoman. Garrett stared at the card, then at the check, then at the card again. His brain was running, but the wheels weren't catching anything. Audrey pulled out her phone, a simple iPhone. She tapped one favorite, held it to her ear. The call connected on the second ring. "Edward, it's Audrey. I'm at the Beverly Hills showroom." A pause. "Audrey? What's happening?" "I need you here. Bring HR. Bring legal. The helicopter from Burbank, please. 20 minutes. "On my way." She hung up, put the phone back in her pocket, did not raise her voice once. Garrett finally found a word, the wrong one. "Wait, Wait. Ms. Bennett, there's clearly been a misunderstanding here. I had no way to know. For the first time that morning, something hardened in Audrey's face. There has been no misunderstanding. Sit down, Mr. Holloway. I'm sorry? Sit down. He sat on the Italian leather chair, the same one she'd been sitting in 5 minutes ago. The mud smudge from her sweater was still on the armrest. His hand brushed it as he lowered himself. He flinched. In the corner, Brent Carlyle had his phone out openly now and was Googling Audrey Bennett Rolls-Royce with shaking thumbs. He showed the screen to the woman beside him without speaking. Forbes. Audrey Bennett, 40 under 50, 2024. LinkedIn. Chairwoman, Rolls-Royce North America. Previous, Goldman Sachs. Harvard MBA. Reuters. First black woman to chair a major British luxury subsidiary in the U.S. Brent passed the phone to the next sales associate, then to the next. By the time it reached Tyler, 3 people had quietly stopped breathing. Emma Coleman, behind the reception desk, leaned over to the customer service rep beside her and whispered 8 words. She approved the Phantom Series 2 interior. Thursday. The rep's eyes went wide. Garrett, in the chair, was still trying. Ms. Bennett, please, this is a complete misunderstanding. I was simply trying to... You were simply trying to what, Mr. Holloway? He blinked. Use your words. You were simply trying to what? Enforce a dress code? Protect clientele? Manage perceptions? Help a confused person find their way? Use your words. He could not. From the parking lot came a low building sound, the thump of rotors. Audrey turned and walked, slowly, to the front window. Her muddy boots left small prints on the marble. She did not look back at Garrett. She did not need to. A sleek black Bell 429 came down over the lot, pushing dust off the pavement, settling on the helipad at the back. Its doors opened in unison. 3 figures stepped out and ducked under the rotors. Audrey watched them through the glass. The first was Edward Lawson, 63, silver hair, navy suit. Behind him, Vivian Brooks, HR director, charcoal blazer, leather portfolio. And Bradley Whitaker, legal counsel, tortoiseshell glasses, Bluetooth earpiece already lit. They crossed the parking lot in formation. The doors of the showroom hissed open. Edward stopped 2 steps inside. His eyes found Audrey. He covered the distance to her in 5 strides and put one careful hand on her elbow. Audrey, I am so sorry. What in God's name happened here? Audrey did not move her arm. She tilted her head slightly toward Garrett, slumped now in the leather chair, the check still in his fingers. Everything is on his official Instagram, real time. He live-streamed 9,400 viewers. Then there are 4 customer phones. The security footage in here. Officer Donovan's body camera. Officer Donovan, who had been standing quietly by the door, gave Edward a single professional nod. Edward did not raise his voice. He did not need to. He turned, slowly, and looked at Garrett Holloway for a full count of 3. Garrett came halfway out of the chair, then sank back down. His knees hit the cushion at an angle he had not planned. Please, he said. The word came out higher than he meant. I have a family. I have 2 kids. Please. Mr. Lawson. Sir. Edward did not answer him. He looked instead past Garrett, through the front windows. On the sidewalk outside, 2 figures had reappeared. Spencer Hartley in his Laurel Piana polo. Charlotte in cream Chanel. They had been waiting, watching, when the helicopter came down, and now stood at the curb, faces pressed to the glass. Audrey turned and saw them. She walked to the doors. The doors hissed open. Spencer, Charlotte, Audrey. Spencer's voice was rough. We should have said something. We should have. I know, it's okay. She smiled, just barely. The black Cullinan you were looking at? I'll have it delivered to your home tomorrow morning, with my compliments. Charlotte Hartley made a small, broken sound and pressed her fingers to her mouth. Audrey, it's already done. She turned and walked back into her showroom. Vivian Brooks did not look at Garrett when she opened the leather portfolio. She did not need to. She set 3 documents on the marble counter, smoothed each one flat, clicked her own pen. Edward Lawson stepped to the center of the showroom and addressed the staff who had gathered in a loose half-circle. Sales associates, 2 service technicians who had drifted in from the back, the reception team, Tyler at the door, Officer Donovan still standing quietly to one side. Effective immediately. Edward's voice was clear. Garrett Holloway is terminated for cause, conduct unbecoming. A small intake of breath, not surprise, acceptance. Mr. Holloway. Garrett rose. His legs were not quite his own. Vivian slid the first document across the counter. Termination notice, sign and date. Second document is return of property, phone, laptop, badge, vehicle key, garage opener. Bradley inventories with you in 20 minutes. Bradley Whitaker, who had been standing 2 steps behind Edward, lifted his hand in a small, acknowledging wave. Mr. Holloway. Bradley's voice was lower, drier. Litigation hold notice arrives via certified email by end of business. EEOC complaint files Monday morning. Retain employment counsel before the weekend. Garrett's pen hovered over the termination notice. You can't fire me on the spot. I have rights. There's a process. Vivian did not blink. Section 12 of your employment agreement. Termination for cause includes, and I quote, conduct constituting harassment on the basis of a protected class. That conduct was live-streamed by you from a company device to 9,400 viewers. There is no process that does not begin with this signature. Garrett signed. His hand was shaking enough that the G came out as 2 attempts. While he was still signing the second page, Audrey walked past him to Tyler Reeves at the door. Tyler? Ma'am? You hesitated. That took courage. Most men in your uniform would have grabbed me to keep a paycheck. Tyler's jaw worked. He did not trust his voice. You stay. Effective today, you report to Edward directly. We're starting an internal ombudsman track across North America. First contact when a customer reports a bias incident. Founding team. Salary doubles. Are you in? Tyler swallowed twice. I'm in. Good. Audrey walked to the reception desk. Emma Coleman straightened the way junior officers straighten when a flag walks in. Emma. Ms. Bennett. You stood up when no one else in this building would. You called Edward, didn't you? Yes. I'm sorry, Stop apologizing. From this morning, you are acting general manager of this showroom. 90-day evaluation. If you make it through, the title is yours. Emma's mouth opened. Ms. Bennett, I'm 26. I've been here 4 months. I've never managed anybody. Audrey smiled. The first full smile of the morning. You stood up. That's the only credential I need. We'll get you a coach. You'll be fine. Are you in? I'm in. Good. Behind them, Garrett finished the third signature and laid the pen down. He looked small in his Tom Ford suit. Tyler walked over the way a man at a wake walks. Mr. Holloway, to the back office. Then the front door. Garrett looked at Tyler, wet eyes. Tyler, we worked together. We had drinks at Murphy's 2 months ago. Tyler said nothing. Opened the side door, held it. Garrett walked through. The door clicked shut. Audrey crossed back to Edward and lowered her voice. I want every showroom in North America to know about this by Monday morning. Network memo. Internal video. Don't sugarcoat. Use my name. Edward studied her. Audrey, the press will be vicious. National coverage by noon tomorrow. Press should be vicious. That is the point. He nodded, pulled out his phone. Audrey turned to Officer Donovan, hat in his hands. Officer, thank you for being professional. I'll send a commendation to your captain at BHPD. Ma'am, thank you. He put on his hat and walked out into the sun. Audrey was the last one left with the Phantom. She walked over, opened the driver's side door, the one Garrett had forbidden her to touch, and lowered herself into the seat. Soft Italian saddle brown leather, exactly the shade she had signed off Thursday. She closed her eyes for one breath, opened them. Emma. Yes, Miss Bennett. Send this one to my Bel Air estate this afternoon. Detail it twice. I'm driving the Land Rover home. The clip went viral over the weekend. By Saturday at 9 p.m., the official Rolls-Royce Beverly Hills livestream, preserved by 23 different downloaders before the account was scrubbed, had been reshared across X, Instagram, and TikTok at a pace that the analytics team in Edward Lawson's office had to graph on a logarithmic scale. By Sunday noon, the consolidated view count crossed 50 million. By Monday morning, it was 86. Hashtag Justice for Audrey trended in 19 countries. Hashtag See Me Now trended in 12. Hashtag Bias in Luxury trended in 4. The Los Angeles Times broke the story at 5:42 a.m. Pacific on Monday, under a byline that would become a household name by Wednesday. Olivia Brennan, senior investigative reporter. The headline was 13 words. Black chairwoman of Rolls-Royce North America refused service at her own showroom. By 7 a.m. Eastern, Audrey Bennett was sitting on the cream couch of a national morning show, hands folded in her lap, wearing a simple navy blazer she had pulled from her closet 30 minutes before the car came. The anchor, silver-haired, soft-voiced, eyes that had interviewed 5 presidents, leaned forward. Ms. Bennett, I want to ask the question everyone in America is asking. You're the chairwoman. You had your wallet on you. You had your phone. You could have ended this in 5 seconds. Why didn't you just identify yourself? Audrey did not answer right away. Because, she said, the woman who walked through those doors in a muddy sweater deserves to be treated the same as the woman with the title. If she doesn't get that respect, neither does the title. The anchor stopped breathing for a beat. 2 beats. Then nodded slowly. The kind of nod that anchors give when they realize the segment just changed. The clip of that answer hit X within 40 seconds. It got 6 million views by lunch. By Tuesday, it had been stitched into 178,000 reaction videos. By Wednesday, the line was on T-shirts. By Thursday, it was the closing quote of a national news magazine preview piece. By Friday, 3 different U.S. senators had quoted it on the Senate floor, 2 with attribution, 1 without. The investigation moved faster than Garrett Holloway's lawyers could keep up with. Day 3. The California Department of Motor Vehicles revoked his automotive sales license. The minimum reinstatement ban was set at 5 years. The department's statement called the conduct incompatible with the duties of any licensee. Day 4. The EEOC formally accepted the case for investigation. Bennett Foundation's general counsel filed a parallel civil suit, pro bono, on behalf of any individual who has experienced a comparable refusal of service at this or related dealerships in the prior 24 months. Day 5. The Beverly Hills dealership entity, a Rolls-Royce affiliated franchise, settled the underlying discrimination claim for $2.5 million. Garrett Holloway was named individually liable in a side agreement for $850,000, which the court structured as an income-based judgment with no shielding under his existing assets. Day 6. Maddie Holloway, his wife of 9 years, filed for divorce. Day 8. The Calabasas house went on the market. By the second weekend, Garrett Holloway had moved into a long-term stay hotel near Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix. A regional tabloid spotted him stocking the bar at a third-tier casino the following Tuesday. The photo circulated within 40 minutes of being taken. The Phoenix paper used it on page 2. The X repost crossed 2 million before lunch. He declined comment. On day 10, Rolls-Royce North America issued a single press release. It was 3 sentences long. Effective today, the Bennett Bias Training Initiative is mandatory across all 932 Rolls-Royce dealerships in North America. The program will be designed and led by Tyler Reeves and an external advisory committee. The chairwoman of the board has no further comment. By the end of the 3rd week, the initiative had been adopted voluntarily by 26 other luxury automotive networks: Mercedes-Benz, Bentley, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, 3 of the largest luxury watch retailers in the country, 2 airlines. Inside the Beverly Hills showroom, the changes were quieter, but no less complete. Emma Coleman completed her 90-day evaluation in 68 days. Edward Lawson flew in personally to deliver the permanent general manager letter. At 26 years and 4 months old, she became the youngest GM in the network's North American history. The story made its own headlines. Tyler Reeves spent the first month writing the Ombudsman protocols. By month 2, he was teaching them. By month 3, he was on a speaking circuit. A documentary team filmed his first training session in Atlanta. He still carried the same protocol binder he'd had on day 1, the page on customer escalation, now annotated in his own handwriting in 3 colors. Charlotte Hartley posted a single statement on her own Instagram on the Tuesday after the incident. It was unscripted, unrehearsed, and unfiltered. The first line read, "I stood there and said nothing. I am ashamed." The post had no images. It received 400,000 likes within a day. Charlotte never posted about it again, but she did not delete it. Spencer Hartley wired $500,000 to the Bennett Foundation the following Friday. The wire memo, in all capital letters, read, "Bad form is not enough." On a Wednesday in the 3rd week, Audrey Bennett returned to the Beverly Hills showroom. She drove over slowly. Mud was in his harness on the passenger seat. He had not stopped wagging since they turned onto Wilshire. She came at 11 a.m. The Land Rover was parked, again, between a Bentley and an Aston Martin. She lifted Mud out of the car and carried him in her arms. Half grown now, ears too big for his head, a tag on his collar that read, Mud. Emma met her at the door. "Ms. Bennett." "Emma." He wanted to see his car. Emma laughed for the first time in 3 weeks. The new Phantom Series 2, the one Audrey had configured, the one that was now her own, sat on the showroom plinth. The same morning light from the east window fell across the saddle brown stitching. Audrey set Mud down on the driver's side seat. The puppy spun 3 times in a tight circle, sniffed the gear selector, sniffed the steering wheel, decided it was all fine, and lay down across the Italian leather with his chin on his paws. Emma watched him. "He looks right at home, ma'am." Audrey reached in and scratched the small spot behind his ear. Mud yawned and rested his chin on her wrist. "He earned it," she said. He didn't judge. 6 months later, Bel Air, late afternoon. The garden where this story began, Bougainvillea recovered, bricks laid, a small new wing on the back of the main house that had not been there in May. Audrey Bennett sat on a stone bench, reading glasses on, manuscript on her lap. Mud, half grown into the long-body beagle he was always going to be, lay across her feet, with one ear flopped over an eye. He had grown into all of his ears at last. Almost. The Bennett Bias Training Initiative had completed its first 180 days of operation. 14,261 frontline employees trained across 4 countries. 23 internal bias incidents identified and resolved without a single piece of outside litigation. 12 managers reassigned, 3 terminated for cause. 1 promoted to corporate ombudsman. Garrett Holloway had not surfaced since the Phoenix tabloid piece. A reporter from the same paper had tried to find him for a 6-month follow-up. The bar was the same. The man was not. The last sighting, off the record, placed him at a fishing lodge in northern Idaho. He had grown a beard. The bartending job was gone. The hotel was gone. He drove a 2003 Toyota Camry that smelled like coffee and old maps. He spoke to no one. Tyler Reeves had given the keynote at the annual Automotive Retail Conference in November. Standing ovation. 43% of attendees signed pledge cards to adopt mirror programs in their own networks. He had also testified that fall before a House subcommittee on labor and workforce fairness. He was 30 seconds into his opening when one of the older members started to cry. Tyler kept his 10-week-old protocol binder under his arm at the podium. He has never stopped carrying it. Emma Coleman had grown the Beverly Hills showroom's quarterly sales by 28%. She was being recruited by 3 other networks. She turned them all down. "I'm staying with the family that bet on me," she told the reporter from Automotive News. The interview was framed and hung above her desk. The Hartleys, Spencer and Charlotte, had set up a personal scholarship at UCLA for first-generation Black women entering business school. Their initial endowment was $2 million. The scholarship was named after Audrey's grandmother, a name not even Audrey had given them. Spencer had researched it himself. Charlotte had also begun teaching unconscious bias seminars at her own foundation, on Tuesdays, for free, with coffee from her own kitchen. On the second Thursday of November, in a ballroom in Detroit, Audrey Bennett walked onto the stage at the North American International Auto Show. She was wearing the same gray sweater, washed. The mud was long gone. Mud, the dog, was tucked under one arm. The audience, 800 industry leaders, board chairs, CEOs, journalists, rose to their feet as she crossed the stage. The applause did not stop for 1 minute and 12 seconds. She had Mud wrapped in a small blanket because the ballroom AC ran cold. He blinked once, twice, then settled into her elbow and slept. She took the Diversity Champion of the Year award without flinching, set it on the podium, adjusted the mic by 1 inch, looked out. "My grandfather was a sharecropper in Mississippi," she said. "My mother was a school nurse in Oakland. Neither of them owned a Rolls-Royce. Both of them taught me the same thing." She paused. "Dignity isn't something you wear. It's something you walk in with. And it's something you walk out with, no matter who tries to take it from you on the way through." The room was completely silent. "Thank you." She walked off the stage with Mud asleep on her shoulder. If you've ever been judged before you opened your mouth, by your clothes, your skin, your accent, your boots, your hair, drop one word in the comments below. Just one. Yours. So we can see how many of us there really are. Share this with someone who needs to hear that dignity walks in. Subscribe for more stories where it wins.
Here's what I want you to hear. Dignity is not your clothes, it's not your shoes, it's not your hair or your car or your address. Dignity is something you're born with. Every single person walks through the door with it, and nobody gets to take it from you. No matter how loud they are, no matter what title they have, no matter how expensive the floor is. But here's the other side. If you are the one standing behind the counter, if you are the one deciding who belongs and who doesn't, check yourself. Because the moment you look at someone and judge them by what's on the outside, you've already told the whole world who you are on the inside. And that's not a good look, no matter how nice your suit is. So, treat people like people. Before you see the clothes, before you see the wallet, before you see the skin, see the person. That's it. That's all anyone is asking for. Just be seen. Just be treated like they exist, like they matter, because they do. Like, share, and subscribe. Real stories, real justice every week. And remember, dignity isn't something you earn with expensive clothes. It's something every person is born with. Stop pretending you get to decide who deserves it.